Hey, what's up guys, my name is Cherno and welcome to episode 25 of Network Chat Programming. So today we're going to talk all about disconnecting clients from the server, right? So for whatever reason, I guess really for a lot of reasons, but what happens is eventually, right, once the server connects to the client, talks there for a while, whatever, the client is eventually going to have to disconnect, right? Because first of all, the server probably won't be running forever, but more often, the client has to just go somewhere. I don't know. Maybe if I'm talking to someone, I want to end that conversation, I want to close that program, and I'm going to move on with my life. Or I'm just going to shut down my computer, whatever. For whatever reason, we need a way to disconnect a client from a server, and we need to kind of handle that ourselves, right? So currently, the way the connections even work, kind of, is in here in server, in just the server class here, we have an array of clients, right? We've got an array list of server client objects which represent clients. That's why the array list is called clients. Now, this array list contains all of our connected clients, and we need a way to remove clients from there. And the reason we even have to remove clients is because this send to all method, right? It's going to send it to every client, okay? So first of all, the first reason really is we don't want to be sending packets to destinations that aren't accessible, okay? That's just something that we don't need to do. That just wastes bandwidth and it's useless, okay? The other reason, of course, is that, well, we're kind of lying to the server. We're saying, hang on, I think there's this many users connected, whereas there aren't, okay? And then, of course, it might be, we might add the functionality to actually view how many clients are connected or view the client names and IDs of clients that are connected to see who's online, right? We might want to see who's online as both the server and maybe the clients even have that opportunity to see who is online. Now, if they do have that kind of, I guess, opportunity to see that, obviously the server has to keep track of users that are actually connected, not users that have been connected sometime. So because of that, we need to disconnect clients. So today we're going to cover one of those, I guess, ways to disconnect clients. And this is going to be when the user, I guess we'll call it organically closes the window, okay? So if the user, logs in, Cherno, localhost, 8192, whatever, the server's actually not running, but if we log in and then we type for a bit and then we finally hit the close button or whatever, or we just close it, in that case, right, that's called a standard kind of close, right? That's where we close it naturally. We don't terminate the process, or we don't abruptly stop the application. We actually let the application close itself. Now, in that case, we want to send a packet to the server being like, yeah, I'm done. Remove me from your server, okay? So to do that, we're going to first of all actually bring up design here. Not on the login page, by the way, that was stupid. And this will take an hour to frickin' pass on this old MacBook Pro here. But if we crack open our, let's go back to source of this, because that was the wrong button there. If we go to our client window class, and oh great, maybe not. Damn it, because it's not a window builder object. That's unfortunate, isn't it? Okay, it doesn't matter. We're gonna have to try this out by hand. I thought that it'd be easy to do it in window builder, but unfortunately this class doesn't have window builder, so I can't be bothered converting it into window builder anyway. So I guess it'd probably be better to type it out anyway. So we've got to create window method, I believe. Yep, here it is. And over here, all we're going to do is we're going to add a listener for the close button, right? So whenever the user presses this close button over here, let me just log in here quickly. Whenever the user presses this close button over here, or if you're on Windows, of course, it'll be over here. If the user presses that button, we want to listen for that, and then we want to do something based on if the user presses that or not. So we'll add over here after maybe our button listener, after this kind of stuff, before the set visible, we'll just add a window listener. So add window listener, and this will be a new window adapter. And then we'll make it an anonymous method, obviously. So in other words, we'll type out the method here because the method that it has is window closing. Okay, well, it has a bunch of stuff, but this is one of it. So window event E. Okay, so basically what will happen is if we import all of this by hitting Command-Shift-O or Control-Shift-O if you're on Windows, basically anything we type here, such as system.out.println closed, right? If we just run this real quick, what you'll see is that whenever we press that close button, it will actually appear here. So let's log in here real quick. Nothing special. And then if I press the close button, you'll see in the console it says closed. Okay. So in other words, any code that's inside this window closing method, that will run if we close the window. So ideally, we want to use it for sending a disconnection packet. Now, To do that, what I'll do is let's just first of all bring it up here. So string disconnect is going to equal, we'll make a quick kind of prefix to it. I'll just make it /d/ because we've used C for connection, M for message, and we'll use D for the slashing stuff. Plus the ID, our ID, which I believe is client.getID. Yep. And then we'll finally need to enclose an end little thing to it, okay? So an end, I guess, not a prefix, but a postfix. An end kind of postfix thing. Because of course the packet might be more than, well, it will be less than, essentially we don't want a huge trailing white space, okay? Now, once we've done that, we can pretty much send it, right? So the way that we'll do that is, well, using our client.send method. So send, and then the actually, hang on. I think we might have a different, how do we usually send messages? Because I think there might be a bit of an easier way. So let me just find our stuff here. Okay, there is a send method. So we'll just send, we don't have to do client.send. We'll send, and then I think just a string, and our message will be the disconnect. All right, and then of course we could do something along the lines of quitting, and this is what I recommend you do as well. If we go back to our client.java class here, we should probably make a method here for actually quitting. So we've got this socket over here, but we never actually close it, okay? And that's obviously not a good thing to do. So if we make a new method here called public void, I'll just call it close, okay? Not close, okay? What I'll do is I'll simply go ahead and type in socket.close, okay? And that'll just close the connection because we really don't want to keep it kind of open after we finish with it. And you might just want to throw in a quick synchronized for the socket into here so that it doesn't actually terminate it while it's still in use, okay? Anyway, we might talk about the synchronized stuff in the future, but this will roughly just make sure that it's not actually doing something when it closes it, okay? Which is quite important. We don't want to close it if it's still in use, essentially. So that being said, if we go back to our client window here, apart from if we find our little window listener that we just made, here it is. Once we send the disconnect packet, let's actually just go ahead and type in client.close, okay? Or you could have named the method quit, whatever, and that will essentially just get rid of our stuff, okay? You could also go ahead and try and join all the threads, but honestly, everything will resolve once you close that window because the window is the only thread with, it's the only class with actual runnable, like while running loops, okay? And of course, the other thing that we might do is just set running equal to false. All right, not really necessary, but it's nice to clean stuff up like that. Anyway, that's it, right? This is what will happen. So essentially now what's happening is our server is getting a packet called, that has the prefix /d/. So we obviously need to handle that. If we go into server main, not server main's useless. Whoops, shouldn't have closed that. Maybe not, maybe it's not useless. It's only useful for actually starting the server. Oh, no. Why is there a server main class made by Sun? Come on, bro. Okay, so we'll use that to start the server, of course, as we always do. But in here, in server, when we have our process, here it is. So what we'll do is we'll say, we'll make another else if. So else if our string here starts with /d/, okay? What we'll do is we'll handle that, okay? So how are we actually going to disconnect a I guess a client from the server? Well, first thing we need to do is really find out what the server is. So what we're given right now, what we're given is the ID. If we go back to client here, you can see that what we actually send the server here after the in client window, of course, after the /d/, we send the ID of the client, okay? And obviously, the server contains an array list of server clients, and server clients contain IDs. You see how this is kind of tying up? Cool. So that being said, what we want to do here is first of all extract that that ID from the packet. So I'll call it ID equals our string dot what is it? String dot split, and then our regex, of course, will just be D, and also if we put the or thing here, also the end, right? And we'll do that, and we'll just select the first index in that array. So in other words, the second string in that array. All right, cool. So that's done. Now let's write a method for actually disconnecting. So we'll make a private void disconnect. what this will take in is probably just an ID here. Int ID. What else? Is that it? I think that's probably it. Do we need anything else? Let me just think real quick. Oh, this is what we should do, right? Okay, because this is kind of just future-proofing this, because we'll also be disconnecting by unnatural causes, right? If the person's computer crashes, or I don't know, they terminate the application because it's not responding, whatever. Or they lose, or they actually lose their internet connection. That's another thing that could happen, right? Your internet could drop out. In other words, if there's an unnatural cause, we might have a boolean here that kind of is the status. So the status being if they disconnected, you know, by closing it. So in other words, they disconnected, or if they kind of timed out, right? And timed out is something that happens if essentially the server tries to ping the client, but it can't get a response, right? And it does that like 5 times or however many times. We'll set that, and we'll set that up in the next few episodes, you'll see. But we want to have a status to see if it's, I guess, a good thing or not, right? So first thing we want to do is just disconnect the client, right? Regardless of the status. The status is just for us to print stuff to the server's console so that whoever's maintaining the server can debug it a bit better. So what we'll do over here, first of all, is we'll just go disconnect, and then we'll have to go integer.parseInt ID, and then the status here will be true, right? Which will mean, I guess true will mean it's by the client's the client's just closed it, okay? So it's kind of like a good status, right? True. And we know that the client's closed it here because it gets a disconnection string like that. So the server doesn't have to manually disconnect the client. The client tells the server, disconnect me. So thus the client has requested it, and thus it's kind of like a clean exit, right? And what we'll do over here is we'll have to find the client with the right ID here. So for int I equals 0, I is less than all of our clients here, clients.size, I plus. And what we just want to check out here is if our clients.getI, .getID is actually equal to the ID that we've provided up here, right? In that case, we want to actually clients.remove at the index of I, okay? And the reason we're removing it at index I is obviously that's the one that we've just gotten here, okay? So we've removed it now. Great, that's it, done. So the other thing that we need to do obviously is once we do hit that one, because there can only be one per ID, we should break as well, just so it doesn't keep looping through all the clients. If we've got like 5,000 people connected for some reason, then we definitely don't want to, I don't know, kind of keep looping through. If it's like the first guy left, we don't want to loop through 4,999 other people if we've already removed it, okay? That's why breaking is just a bit better to do. Right, now what we actually want to do is, I guess, well, we sort of want to give feedback to the console. So we'll say string message equals nothing for now. And over here we'll say if status is true, so in other words, if the kind of user has done that, we'll set message equal to, let's say client plus ID here. One thing we might get is the name of the client. How about that? So what we'll do as well is we might make a string here called name. We'll set that equal to blank just for now. And then before we remove the client, we'll also go clients.getI dot name. Okay, so we'll set name equal to that. All right, and we could provide a lot of stuff here, couldn't we? How about we do this? We'll make a client C, which is the guy who's kind of disconnecting. We'll find it and we'll set C equal to clients.getI. All right, sorry, it's server client. So server client. Okay, we'll set C equal to clients.getI, and then over here, we'll actually, so client plus ID. So we'll grab the how about we do this? We'll grab the C dot name, right? Plus, and then we might put in brackets the get ID, right? And then close the bracket. At plus, let's say what else we want. So we probably want the let's say the address. So I think we can just go toString and it'll work. Not too sure what we'll say. Plus and then the port number. So we'll put a little colon there, and then we'll put the port number, which is c.port. Okay, so we've got a nice comprehensive, and then we'll put a disconnected and a full stop. Okay, awesome. Now, if it wasn't natural, we'll just copy and paste this message here, but we'll change the disconnected to a timed out. Okay, that's it. That just tells the server, okay, this is the exact specific client that's either timed out or disconnected. Okay, and then finally, we'll just go system.out.println println message. Okay, and it's nice and simple because of course the console doesn't, the server doesn't have any kind of GUI. It's just got it's console based, so we can just use a simple println to get that in there. Okay, and that's it, right? That's how awesome this is. Now, there are a few issues with this, right? This will work fine, okay? But there is one glaring issue that I'm going to explain right now, and I'm actually going to implement it in the next episode, okay? But I just want to let you guys know that this isn't all you should do for a lot of reasons. If we launch the server main here, let me just get rid of, you know what, before we launch that, let's get rid of the, in the run method here, we've got this system.out.println client.size, which we'll use the last episode to see how the clients were added and stuff. If we get rid of that, go back to server main, launch that beast, as well as launch a login window here. We'll make a yarn localhost 8192 login. Okay, so here we go. We've logged in here. You can see on the server. Let me just bring this up a bit here. Now, there's an issue, right? We don't know, we know our identifier here, and we might, for some whatever reason, we might know the ID of some other guy. What we could do right now, and this is the issue, this is kind of like the security kind of concern issue thing, we could type /d/ something like 4620/e/, but you can change this to someone else's ID, and it would disconnect them, right? It would kick them off the server. And that's not a good thing. We want to kind of stop this security issue because this is kind of the code that we use. Now, obviously, we wouldn't disclose this to our clients. If we were making a serious application, I'm obviously showing you guys because this is, I just realized I can make this smaller. Probably should have. Oh, okay, that doesn't really work properly. Doesn't matter. Anyway, so, yeah, obviously, if we were making a serious chat application and I wasn't sharing the source code or the actual videos with you guys, you wouldn't know that that was the kind of the thing that you need to do, right? You have to prefix it with a /d/. You wouldn't know that, and because of that, I guess I could trick you into, I could essentially just leave that security bug in there, and then you wouldn't actually know that. So it's very, very infrequent that someone would discover something like this. However, reading the source code or just watching the video, you'll see that that is the case. So that's why next episode we're going to talk about how to get rid of this security bug. We'll still use /d/, but we'll just implement something that doesn't allow the user to enter something like this and for the server to think that it's real. Okay, so we'll get rid of that for now. But essentially what we need to do is, actually, I think maybe it won't work. It probably won't, actually. I might have just explained a lot, but we'll check that out in a minute. But essentially what happens is if I close this now, what it'll say is nothing at all. Great. So that did not work at all. Let's go back into our client here, client window, make sure that this is all working. All right, so we'll send this. I think what will happen though, and the reason it didn't work is, yeah, okay. So this is the other thing that's really important, because this is the other thing that kind of stops us from working. And this is what I was talking about, the security issue earlier. A lot of people were asking about it, and there is actually an inbuilt solution into it, which is great. I didn't realize I'd actually coded it this way, which is kind of smart, I have to say. Nice work, Cherno. But if we launch this, we successfully connect to the server, we say stuff like that. If we do say something like /m/, right, and we say something after that, we will get a bit of an issue, right? If we do say something like /d/, it won't disconnect us. You can see that actually works perfectly, /d/ blah, blah, blah. And the reason that all works perfectly, the only one that doesn't is the /m. But the reason that works perfectly and that doesn't disconnect us is because we prefix it with an m, right? So what happens is, all the way up here in our server, in our process, so this is actually answering quite a big question that you guys did bring up. We see that if the server starts with an m here, it's going to send to all, and if it's only going to do the D after, okay? that's why it's not going to work. So in other words, this catches up first, and the reason it is prefixed with an M is because over here in let's see here, over here in our client window, our send method, which is what we use, you can see it does the /m/ along with message. Now sometimes we don't want to send a message, right? So we can make a boolean called come on, Cherno. A boolean called message, okay? And we'll say that, oh, that's a bad thing. A boolean called maybe text, I don't know. And we'll say if text, then add that M prefix. Otherwise, don't, okay? So if we go over here into disconnect, right, we'll put false. But when we hit the send button or we press the enter key, we'll put true in, because that's actually some text that the user's sending. So this is the enter key. We'll put true there, okay? And that should now work, right? There is one more issue that we'll talk about next episode, but that's cool for now. So if we start this again and we join the server successfully, you can see here we've got our own ID. If we go back to this, we might, type a bit. You can see it's working because this text is coming from the server, of course. If we hit the, let me just bring this up once more. If we hit the close button here, what's going to happen is, oh, it prints it here. That's weird. Okay, so it still thinks it's some kind of, okay, let's go back a minute here. All right. So let's go back to, okay, so it didn't catch that. That's what happened. Because what happens is in server, if it's not sure what it is, then it simply prints it out, and that's what happened. So that was a bit weird. Maybe we've got like a space or something in the front, not sure. But let's just go ahead and I'm just kind of examining this. No, that looks fine. So it doesn't start with an M, it doesn't start with a D apparently. So that's odd. Let's try that one more time and we'll see exactly what's going on there. And it shall be a good discovery, I think. Because these things usually are. Because we've coded everything correctly, we'll probably just not handle something or whatever. If we close this, okay, so it looks like, I think there's an excess space at the front, which is kind of weird. Let's go ahead and, that's probably it, right? There's two spaces there, I think. No, there's not. D. So it's not picking that up for some reason. Maybe there's not a space in front of it. Maybe. It looks like it's just treating it as text. This is the server, right? Yeah. So it looks like it's just treating it as text, which it shouldn't be doing, because I don't think we've got that prefix anymore. Does it appear in... No, it doesn't. Okay. So it doesn't appear here. Alright, so we disconnect, and that disconnects everything, I believe. So it should be disconnecting this entire thing here, but that does not look like it's working. The pass ID isn't giving us an error. So this looks like it's not true. That's really weird. Let's go back to client window and look at this listener here. So we send it with false. So that's okay, message. Oh, that's what happens. Okay, so what happens is we actually prefix the word Cherno into it. Okay, I should have read that a bit more closely. What happens is we actually prefix the message with Cherno, okay, because that's the name. So what we want to do is we want to move this text pretty much up here and then put brackets around it. So what it does here is instead of just not doing this, it doesn't do this entire block of code, because this actually prefixes it with a name, and thus it doesn't start with D, it starts with that Cherno thing, okay? Which is, in the first case in the world, starting a sentence out with Cherno is a bad thing. Okay, it's usually not. Now, anyway, let's go back into server main, launch that, log in, go to log in, and we can log in here. We'll go with yarn this time, 8192, log in, we've logged in. If we come back here, back down here, and we press the close button, what we should see is client yarn disconnected, okay? Now what doesn't happen is the application does not terminate. So that's one thing that we need to add in just a second here. But you can see that what happens here is it actually removes us from the thing, and it says client yarn with that ID at, this is the address of ourselves, disconnected. Okay, wonderful. All right, so I suspect that the reason that we're not closing here is because it's trying to do client.close, but we've already kind of stopped the thread and we've hung everything. So I think what we'll probably have to do is just put the closing into a different thread. So if we just make a new thread here, and we'll come over here and go .start, and then we'll just go, whoops, public void run. I'll just put my brackets anywhere and then hit Control-Shift-F to format it for me. What this will do is it'll just create a new thread and then close the socket. So we won't rely on any other thread, and this should not hang our application as it does in the previous tests, right? So I'll start a server real quick. I will start a client real quick. And I'll just test it out really quickly. So churn, and we'll go yarn localhost 8192, log in. And then if we hit the close button, hopefully what will happen is you can see that our application closes and it says that we disconnected. So the server knows about this disconnection. And I bet that, of course, what will happen is we kind of remove that client from the list. And in fact, just to test this really quickly, I'm going to come into server, and over here in our, maybe not in receive. Do we have any other kind of we got the managing loop running here. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and system.out.println clients .size. So we'll constantly be printing out. So let's terminate this. Start up the server. That's the client. Start up the server again here. You can see we're getting a bunch of zeros because there's no clients connected. So watch what happens when I log in, of course, here as yarn localhost 8192. Hit login, and that changes to a 1. And then when I disconnect, we go back down to a 0. Okay, so that works perfectly. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys next time. So hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, which I'm sure you did, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.